I'm ready to slash and burn.
No quarter. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the big recap episode of Outside of the Box, where we're going to talk about episodes 11, 12, and 13, everything that's happened since we came back from the break. So, Ashley, are you prepared?
I am ready. I made notes because it was a lot of episodes. Usually I try to fly by the seat of my pants, but I am ready for 21 matches. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so everybody better strap in.
Buckle up.
Yeah, this is good, like, listening material. You know, you're on a long road trip and you need something to listen to. Like, this is the perfect episode for that. So yeah. Well, we will start off back in episode 11 and go with the first match from that episode, which was Black Dragon versus Beta. And it's funny because I think that I had the same thoughts when I saw the robots come out that some other people did, that I was like, why is Beta going with that armor configuration? Because I'm like, that I don't know that seems smart. It seemed to work really well against Shatter. And I'm like, if you're going to go with anything, that's probably what you go with versus Black Dragon. And it didn't really work for them. And what I thought was really interesting is that, you know, towards the end of that match, you know, Beta's getting pretty beat up and everything. And Black Dragon had them basically lined up for a kill shot. And John Reed was like, And you know, Black Dragon didn't do it because that's what you're supposed to do. You know, despite the fact that this is a very like energetic, rowdy team with lots of energy, they heard what John was saying and they did what the sportsman-like thing was to do. So that's kind of where we left that match.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to see, like, when you see how freaked out your opponent is, to like stop. Because like I've been in that position and just been like, oh no, and then you're like, please don't do that. Like, that's gonna be expensive. Like I'm already in a point where I'm not gonna do anything. I'm clearly not gonna self-right myself. Like, please just leave me for dead. And I definitely appreciate Black Dragon and like just how freaking powerful they are. And I am definitely excited for their next match to see what's possible. Won't, you know, say against two. But yeah, and people, I heard the same thing about Beta, and like, you've run that config before, it hasn't worked out, so why are you shorting yourself all of the extra protection when you know you're up against such a powerful weapon? But, you know, it is what it is. It's nice that it happened the way that it happened. And I just love Black Dragon so much. And that whole team is just so incredible and so much energy. It's just awesome.
Yes, they are quite an awesome team. And yes, I am very much curious for their next match, because, you know, as we know, BattleBots has been building this up all season. Black Dragon's never been knocked out before. Like, they have this streak going. So yeah, I would like the streak to remain unbroken. That would be my preference, but we'll see what happens. So we go from that to another match with a very destructive robot in Cobalt versus Overhaul. Now, this match brought up an interesting debate that I always go through, because towards the beginning of that match, Cobalt got jammed up and they weren't going anywhere. And Overhaul made the decision to get in there, and like, we've seen a match that is very reminiscent of this, which was when Cobalt fought Duck a long time ago. And Duck was like completely destroyed. Like, you weren't thinking Duck was going to win that match, but then Cobalt got high centered on something and Duck was like, I'm just gonna leave him be. And Overhaul made the decision to not leave them be and proceeded to get completely walloped. I mean, Cobalt did have a little bit of issue moving around later in the match, but I think there may have been just the debris in the arena that they were having trouble getting around, and they were able to finish Overhaul off. I mean, me personally, my competitive spirit, I probably would have done what Charles did and been like, yeah, I'm just gonna go after him, because I don't want to win like that.
Right.
But there's some that would have said, hey, Overhaul could have had an easy win if they would have just left them alone. What's your take on that?
Yeah, and it happened so fast that Cobalt ended up on the wall that I almost wonder if it wasn't even a decision, more it was just a reaction that, okay, the fight just started. Like, maybe Charles didn't even realize it because it did happen so quick, and he came in pretty quick and knocked him right off the wall. So, like, I am wondering at the end of the day, like, if Charles actually realized that he was stuck, if he would have actually thought through that decision. But I feel like it just happened so fast. It was the start of the match. Everything was like crazy. And he was just like, no, I'm going for it. Like, it's happening. They like, because even from our camera angle, like on TV, you could see it, but from where he's standing in the box, he might not have realized it. So it's definitely interesting because you don't want to see a match just end like that. So like like it stinks that Charles got, kind of beat up a lot at at the end of the day. But I do wonder if it was really just something that he didn't realize had happened at that point in the moment.
That's true. Because, everybody talks about like being in the zone when you're actually like at BattleBots, that you're not aware of
You have no idea what's
everything.
going on. There have been matches that I've stood cage side for, and I have zero recollection of what happened at the cage because you just get so in your head and you're so focused on what you're doing at that moment that nothing else matters. So you really aren't realizing to the full. And that's really where teams come in and being like, hey, like knock on the shoulder, like pay attention, or like get back into like what's going on, because you never know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. So then we have Switchback versus Ominous, and that was the one of those fights that was like, it was kind of slow in parts, but I mean, Ominous did get in a couple big hits, which was great to see because it's such a pretty robot, and like I want it to be really effective, and it did do that. But the problem was that in one of those hits, it essentially flipped itself over, wasn't able to self-right, even though it does have a self-righter, but it just wasn't working properly. And that was that. I was a little bit disappointed because I think Switchback has looked so much better this season, and I'm not sure that they win that match if Ominous doesn't get flipped like that. So that was kind of interesting for me as well.
Yeah, I love Switchback. I think it's just such a cool machine when everything that they've done with it. And Cobalt and Ominous just moves so smoothly. It's just like you said, it's so pretty. It's so incredible. It's like they delivered that hit and totally knocked in the beat of Switchback. And then I think by the time the beat got off, it was almost like the weapon became obviously more open and more powerful. And that last hit that really flipped Ominous upside down, it's like, oh, okay. Like, you really never want to see a robot land on its head, especially one that isn't going to necessarily and cannot drive upside down. So it's like, oh, but I love Switchback, so I'm really super excited to see them get another win. Like, I just have so much like enthusiasm for that robot and that whole team. Like, I think they're really incredible. So it was definitely cool to see them go back and forth and deliver those huge powerfuls out of both weapons. But yeah, it definitely stinks when it just ends like you never want to see a match end that way.
Yes, you do not. And it's almost so fitting because we're talking about self-writers, and that played heavily into the next match was Triton versus Glitch. Kyle, like you're one of my favorite people. Get a self-writer on that thing. Please get a self-writer on that thing. So yeah, like it's that also was an interesting match because Triton, it like Tombstone, which it's compared to, has a tendency to almost take itself out due to the recoil from the hits that it delivers. And a couple times it looked like that might happen. And then, Glitch got itself flipped and of course wasn't able to self-right. And that's that. Like,
yeah, I mean, the whole team at UC Berkeley, and it's a huge team. So it's like, guys, put your little bit of brain power together, add a self-writer or something, not even necessarily a self-writer. Some people add wings so that you can't tip. If you're at like a certain point, you're going to necessarily fall back over and land on your wheels and not get stuck on your head. But I love Brad and Shay, so I'm super excited to see Triton get a win. I just love for how supportive Shay is of Brad the entire time. Like, she's literally like the best girlfriend in the world, and watching their relationship on TV is absolutely adorable. So like, big shout out to them because it's so cute. But it definitely stunk when like Triton got hit so hard they bounced in the air and they literally coiled their own weapon on one of their belts. So they must run a double belt because they did still have a belt attached. But with it being stuck, it's like, oh, but Brad's driving was absolutely incredible to be able to get behind Glitch, even though their weapon was running, and push them right into the wall. Like, that's some serious patience and skill that really takes a lot. And so big kudos to Brad for like holding it down and being able to get them in that position and take the win.
yes, absolutely. And you are correct. Brad and Shay are quickly becoming one of my favorite combat robotics couples. And I was happy to see them get a win, even though unfortunately it was at Glitch's expense. But yes, so then we have Gigabyte versus Starchild, which was definitely a match that goes by the term death by 1,000 cuts. It was just take a little piece here and take a little piece here, and it just kept going on and on throughout the match. I do have to give like Brandon and the Starchild team credit for sticking in there, and like they were still trying that whole time, even though the wheels were like super badly damaged, they were still trying. And I thought that was amazing that they were able to hang in there despite everything that was going on.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Starchild shirt today. Big shout out to Team Omega. Of course, I have so much love for everything that robot does, and I hate watching it lose. Everybody knows that about me, but big shout out to Gigabyte. You figured it out after you fought Huge. You knew what you needed to do. You cut through those Tegris wheels, and you absolutely delivered annihilation. But yes, Starchild lasted the entire time. So it just goes to show you that the right materials will keep your robot moving regardless of what's happening to you. And even though like by the end of it, Starchild looked like a deflated balloon, those wheels had parts of them that were still intact. And that Tegris is just absolutely incredible. Like we see it on Mammoth, we see it on Huge, we see it on Starchild, and it's really effective, but it, I hate watching the blues. Damn it.
I know. It is hard because when you see a team that like obviously knowing some of the people on the team and knowing like how passionate they are and how much they want to win, and it's like you want them to do that. Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah, Thwack is not whack, and I hope that Starchild gets invited back. So like bring it on. I love it.
I've already seen, some posts about the potential like improvements and things like that. So I mean, they're gonna get it together. They're gonna get it together. There's sometimes you need a season to learn those lessons, and then you can come back and just.
I mean, when you show up with 2 rookie bots, like you're learning a lot no matter what. So like it's just awesome regardless. I don't care. I love it. I'm standing behind it 100%, whatever.
Yes, absolutely. So then we go to Jackpot versus Captain Shredderator, which, I recently talked to Nick Nave, and I have to give that team so many props for essentially doing a speed build of a whole freaking robot in a very short amount of time. And it worked. I honestly, I told him I thought that was the best that Shredderator has looked the entire season, despite the fact that they lost. They still put up a good fight against Jackpot, which is a very, very good robot. So like I was honestly impressed, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Captain Shredderator looked absolutely durable in this match, and it was like definitely being able to like take those hits and compound them and be able to get started again and keep going. And after everything, I can only imagine that they had to do to get back to where they needed to be to get in that box and function properly is absolutely incredible, and that says so much about that team and what they're capable of. Like, they've been doing it for a long time. Like, they're no joke. But on the other end, I'm so happy for Jackpot. Jeff and Kat are freaking fantastic. And like, big kudos to Jeff and his driving in this match. Like, I was watching him because obviously when they're going weapon to robot, they're bouncing off of each other. And those moments where Jackpot was getting control, I was watching Jeff slow the weapon down. He would push Captain Shredderator into the corner, back off, spin it up, hit him, slow it down, and it was just like he had so much control and so much thought into everything that he was doing and executing. It was absolutely incredible to watch, and I loved it. Not to mention, I love the fact that all of their weapons have glitter on them, and they're fantastic.
I'm a big fan of glitter, so I support this. And obviously Shay is involved with that team as well, so there's going to be that heavy glitter influence. So yeah, absolutely awesome. So the big main event in that episode was one that I had been looking forward to the entire season, which is Rotator versus Bloodsport. And it's like, obviously Victor's been having problems with Rotator all season. He got it dialed in eventually, but still not like 100%, not to the level that he wants it to be. Bloodsport's had some rough matches too. But in this case, Bloodsport got Rotator's plow pretty early. Rotator did get a big hit, but they weren't able to capitalize on that. And Bloodsport just went after them at that point. Like, once the weapon was down, it was just like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, and to be able to like, for Bloodsport to be able to like deliver so much power in their weapon and just absolutely like take slices into robots is absolutely crazy. Like, I will always shout out Nick and his ability to build a weapon and a weapon system. He is absolutely incredible, and that team of Bloodsport is so lucky to have him. Like, that whole team is so smart. Like, obviously, so many of them fight at NHRL, so I get to see individually how impressive they are. But to know that Nick is mostly the brains behind that weapon and everything that it's delivering is absolutely incredible. And it's just so cool to watch every single time.
Yes, Nick makes amazing weapons. I almost bought one of the blades. And if I could have taken that thing on the plane, then that would have been an easy decision. I would have done that immediately. So, unfortunately, that was not possible. Walking through TSA with a giant weapon blade, they'd be like, what are you going to do with that? I'm nothing. I'm just
hanging on my wall.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything with it. Don't worry about it. So yeah, it's a beautiful robot. I mean, both of them are truly beautiful robots, and it was a really good fight. Kind of what I would have expected from both of them. So
yeah, and Victor definitely seems more and more to dial it in every single match. So it's cool. It's totally stinks that he's had so many issues because I love Rotator. I love the whole theme. I love all the flashy. Like, that's my game all day long. So it really stinks that he's had so many bugs, but it's nice to see that he's really getting the ball rolling and he's really like figuring it out, even though it's late in the season.
Yes, for sure. So moving on to episode 12, it started out with like a really, really great match, which was Lockjaw versus Mad Catter. So I will say that, after Lockjaw went 0-4 last season, I was not a believer that they would turn it around so well this season. Not that I think it's, Lockjaw was by any means like done with, but
Right.
I didn't expect such a good season. And Donald really got it together. I mean, Mad Catter did get a wheel early in the match, and then Lockjaw was really able to hammer them. I thought it was interesting because Gassy Cat, kind of got involved at some point, and Mad Catter was coming back a little bit, but then it just kind of died at the end and ended up getting counted out literally at the last second of the match, as like Lockjaw was also starting to have problems. So it like, who knows if it would have gone another like 20 seconds, like who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, it was such a powerful match, and those are both just two incredible robots. Like Calvin's driving, and like it's just so good, and it's just like to see two strong teams really go head to head and just lay it all out there and have it go almost full 3 minutes is absolutely awesome. And yeah, it's so good to see Donald Hudson and his whole team get a win and like really show that their work and their efforts have like really helped exactly what they're doing. And Donald's been around forever. Like you can't just let that go. You have to always remember like there's so much skill and so much knowledge behind him that like even though there's bugs and twists and turns along the way and all these new and up and coming robots, like he's dialing it in, he's figuring it out. And it was such a good match. I loved all of it.
Yes, for sure. So going from that was something that I was really excited about, was the match versus Gruff versus Malice. So, like I've wanted for so long for Bunny to just have a really outstanding season, because Malice catches a lot of flack, and I don't think that it's fair. They are a horizontal, and like it's rough for horizontals, especially with the shelf and everything else. And Gruff obviously did get a really good flame shot early in the match, but then after that happened, it was pretty much all Malice, and like Malice looked solid. I'm so happy for Bunny, like being able to have this kind of season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming off of Robo games too, obviously they did really, really well out there. So it's really cool to see that even after the season, like they really did dial it in and they really made improvements. And like that robot is a tank. It always has been a tank, and it's proving why this season. And it's so fantastic to see.
Yes. I mean, they knocked out Gruff. Like, people don't do that. That is not a robot that gets knocked out easily. So,
No, it's a tank.
yes, exactly. So, I thought that it was really impressive. Really, really happy to see that, obviously. And speaking of things that I was happy to see, so, Doomba and Dragon King, just like by concept, design, theme, everything, are just like two of my favorite robots. Both of them give me great joy. And the only disservice in that situation was that the walkout wasn't shown. I have not seen it, but it was described to me. And I'm like, why was this not on TV? Like, you have two of the most, theatrical teams
Yes.
that there are, and why people need to see this stuff. I hope that it's like an outtake later in the season or something. But yeah, I mean, Doomba lost a battery. They did manage to pop the chain off of one of Dragon King's saws, which, I talked to their team about this, and the fact that the saw got in there was not intentional, but then once they realized that it was, they were like, yep, we're gonna take that. So, like, it was just fun. I love seeing these robots. It was a fun match to me.
Yeah, absolutely. You love to see the creativity and really like see how many people can think outside the box a little bit in their designs and really just like, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And just really put on a show, like both teams are just so incredible. The robots are just absolutely epic looking. I love that one of them, like Doomba, has googly eyes because it's something we love so wholeheartedly at NHRL that I think almost all of the robots are going to end up with googly eyes someday. It's the best thing ever. So you've got to love a match like this that's just full of tons of fun and actual destruction. And you shout out to the pulverizer for actually like visibly damaging a robot.
Hey, like they do work sometimes. They're not just there for fun. So yeah. I mean, I know that there were some people that were like, these robots like aren't at the level of, not every robot has to
Let them
be
have their
like,
fun.
let them have fun. I'm telling you that I think that both of these robots are going to learn from this season and they're going to come back with some improvements. Like I'm telling you, they will. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, there is a place for fun in BattleBots, and I would be upset if it wasn't there. So
literally.
So then another one of those matches that I've been anticipating for some time, Claw Viper versus Hypershock. Now, obviously, as we've talked about, I had predicted a different result of this match, but I will say that I could just, sometimes you see it in his eyes. Will Bales goes into that mode where he will not be denied. It's very similar to kind of the way things went in the Golden Bolt tournament last year, where like you could just see it. He was going full send and just like on Claw Viper's butt, and just wasn't going to relent. And, unfortunately, Kevin had no answers for them.
No, I'm a big WWE fan, so all I could hear in my head was Michael Cole saying like vintage Will Bales and his crazy driving, like that was literally like all I was hearing during this match. And I was just like cracking up at myself because I was like, you're crazy, Ashley. But absolute domination from Will Bales. You love to see it. It's exactly what happened in Golden Bolt. His driving is absolutely incredible. He never gave Kevin a second to even think about gaining control in that match. He just delivered the pain and it was incredible. Kevin, I'm sorry, as much as I wanted to see you go 4-0, like it was awesome. I think your whole claw mechanism ended up a little bit sideways by the end of the match, and yikes, that's hurtful. But I guess it's a good thing it was your last match for the moment.
You have
a little bit of time to like rebuild, but yeah, just absolute domination from Will Bales. You love to see it. You love to see Hypershock functioning how it's supposed to function. And yeah, it's just great.
Yes. And unfortunately for Kevin and Claw Viper, now the rest of the field knows how to beat it.
Yes.
So, obviously they're going to be in the tournament. We'll see how that plays out in the tournament. Anybody who's at least 3-1 is going to be there. Probably anybody who's 2-2 is going to be there. So it's,
exactly. Yeah,
you have to kind of consider those things, and we'll see how that goes. But then next we had free shipping versus Big Dill, which was fantastic. Not sure that Gary was so excited about it, but like Chili Pepper is a really effective mini bot, like probably the most effective one that I've seen all season. There was definitely a lot of back and forth in that match, but I think like Gary alluded to this when I talked to him in a way. I mean, sometimes even though I don't technically know the result of something, I'm like, it just sounds like maybe this is how that's going to go. And, he had said like Big Dill really has a proper spinner, like it has a proper weapon, whereas free shipping, like it's there, but it's not, like really the same level. So, I'm so happy that Big Dill was finally able to get a win, because I think that they've been like one of the best looking teams that doesn't have a winning record this season. And you'd love to see it for E-Man to get that win.
Yes, absolutely. I was so stoked for this match. I absolutely love Big Dill. I love the Ver. I love it this year. And yeah, Ellis, I see you. Your robots are incredible. I don't even know how much Big Chili Pepper weighs, but bring him to NHRL. Like, we want to see it in person, because I watched you drive straight into wheels of 250-pound robots and you didn't even think twice about it. And it's awesome. So yeah, that was like the coolest thing to see. And it was really funny to hear Gary go, "What is that?" Even he was like, "Whoa, hold on. Like, they're really coming to play with the mini bot." And like, it was no joke. So it was really, really fantastic to see Big Dill get that win. I've loved them all season. I'm so grateful that they're doing so much better and so well. And it was so awesome to see just them dominate and have control. And yeah, Gary, I'm really sorry, but it was just not your day.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. So it's really funny because the next match, I mean, I literally just wrote down one word because there's like we've discussed before, there's certain matches that like I know, like I remember very clearly, and I don't need to write a bunch of notes because I know what happened. And of course that word is toast. Shreddit Bro versus Lucky. And I like it was sad, obviously, to see that happen. And I'm like, did Evan know that his bot would fit so perfectly behind those screws? I'm guessing he didn't, but it did afford the Shreddit Bro team an amazing marketing opportunity to make these toast shirts and hats and everything else. But yeah, and I mean, it was just like Matt Olson, seriously, like
Incredible.
What the heck? He is such a great driver, like so amazing. So I think people are really starting to realize that.
Yeah, Matt Olson is definitely no joke at all. His patience, his ability to see things in the box, his ability to just really take his time, make those shots, and line them up perfectly every single time is absolutely incredible. I've been lucky enough to talk to Mark. He was at NHRL last month, so that was actually really cool to see. I got to talk to him at BattleBots a little bit, so I love that team. They're so great. It's so awesome to see Lucky functioning so well. They also did really well at Robo Games with Ziggy Jr. So that was like really cool to see because both of them drove during Robo Games. So like it's not just Matt, like they're both very much in it and they're both very much like dialing that robot in. And it's really cool to see. Evan, I'm sorry. I love you. I did get to talk to one of the team members a little bit after the match. Michael did say that in the morning when they were testing the robot, everything was fine. By the time that they had gone to fight that day, it was like a little bit later. They didn't do a full spin up and something happened with the vest. So that's why the weapon never got up to full speed. They unplugged it after the match and the weapon was fine. So it can just goes to show you that no matter what, over time, like something can happen even if you're not touching the robot. So it really stinks to see that that happened in that situation because they didn't go in at full power and they didn't know that they didn't go in at full power. But you know, it is what it is. The shout out to Hotcoin for your fantastic artwork and all of the sales I'm sure that you guys are all getting for the toasted. It's really cute and adorable, but no one wants to see Evan go, get toasted.
No, not really. But yeah, and like Siri, we'll talk about that their next match a little bit later, but I mean anybody who wants to talk smack about Shreddit Bro,
Go somewhere.
Yeah. I'll quote Shay, bless your
Bless
heart.
your heart.
So then the last match, the main event in that episode, Sawblaze versus Hydra, and I have to say, congratulations to Jake Ewert. You fully like convinced me that you had lost that match by what you said when I talked to you. I was like, oh yeah, Sawblaze is gonna get around to the sides and get that saw in there and it's gonna cut Hydra up good. So I did not see that result coming whatsoever. I obviously, like, Hydra is great at the ground game. Personally, I think JMO also is, but obviously in this match, he just wasn't quite as good at the ground game. I did think it was obviously very interesting at the end that Jake intentionally avoided them calling a KO and took it to a judge's decision. I'm like, did he just feel that he wanted to win a judge's decision? Like, maybe, I don't know, but it was a very entertaining match, completely unexpected. I really thought that Sawblaze was going to go 4-0. But hey, like, congrats to Hydra. Hydra looked really good in that match, and like that's what happened.
Yeah, it's always like really interesting to think about like two powerful robots that just perform so differently, but then like so incredibly well, and you're like, all right, well, this could go one of two ways, of course, right? So and like JMO said, like they were in there, they were playing the ground game, they were scraping paint on the test box, but Jake goes low, and Jake, for whatever reason, can get under everybody, and it just is incredible. The flipping, like, good on Sawblaze for their self-rider always functioning, except at the very, very end. But, I think Jake did want a little bit of a JD. He wanted to just really go to show that he's there, he's not going anywhere, and that robot is powerful no matter what type of robot he's facing. And everybody knows how incredible JMO and his entire team is. Like, if you can beat Sawblaze on a JD, like, you're looking pretty good heading into the round of 32. That's not a lot to mess with at that point.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I was the big sad after that match. I'm like, no, JMO has to go undefeated. But he's still gonna have a good position in the tournament, I think, and we'll see how everything plays out there. So that was that episode. And then we go into the most recent episode, which I know you were so excited, I'm sure, about so many things. But
my heart was so full after this episode.
I know. The first match was Emulsifier versus Quantum. And so I thought, I don't remember if it was Chris or Kenny, somebody, said like, nobody could have seen this coming from Quantum. I did. I'm going to raise my hand right now and be like, I absolutely did. I believed in this robot since the beginning of the season. So it does not surprise me at all. Now, I was, a little bit worried about this match because it's Emulsifier, and they're obvious, they're a rookie, but like that weapon is holy crap. So Quantum ended up losing both teeth, and just at that point, like, what are they going to do? Let's just go full send, like, why not, and just go after Emulsifier despite the weapon being a factor, and they still beat them. Like, I could not be more excited. Granted, I big love to Bots FC and Emulsifier's team, but like, man.
Yeah, Quantum, first of all, is freaking gorgeous, and it is like, seeing it in person, like, it does, like, what you see on TV, it does not do justice as to how beautiful that bot is designed and everything that goes into it. Even losing the teeth, it shows how powerful that entire crushing mechanism is, to be able to control that robot to get just enough to the side to stay out of the way of the weapon and still drive it around the box. Shows so much control, so much power, and it's absolutely incredible. I love to see Quantum sitting at 4-0. I don't love to see how not well Emulsifier did this season, because obviously it's a robot that I've watched get scaled up. So you have so much love for Bots FC. I do almost wonder at the end if he was high centered on one of the teeth, because he was definitely a little bit in the air and only one of the treads was moving. So I'm kind of wondering if that tooth came back to bite them. Gotta throw one in there. But yeah, Quantum absolutely delivered this match. It was so cool, and I cannot wait to see where they end up in the tournament, because it's got to be a high seed without a doubt.
Yes, it has to be. I honestly, like, I don't think that I ever in the past would have envisioned a Crusher robot going 4-0. But I mean, after that first match, I was like, man, like they just look amazing. So yes, could not be happier for them and excited for them. So poor Gigabyte. So Gigabyte versus Endgame. And I think that Endgame after that RIPperoni match, I feel like maybe they had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and feel like they just need to prove that they are the bot that everybody has always known them to be. And Gigabyte unfortunately took the brunt of that. They broke the clock.
I did the clock. I was just gonna say the clock took some of that too.
Like they broke the clock. Like that one sign always takes all the punishment. Now they're going after the clock. So I don't even know. But it was brutal. Like really, really brutal. Obviously, like I've never doubted Endgame's dominance. Like it's just anybody can be beat. Like that is a fact. It doesn't matter how good you are. But yeah, like obviously they're dominant and they proved it in that match.
Yeah, they were like, nope, all right, bye-bye forks, throw on front wedges, and let's just let the weapon do the job. And they sent Gigabyte flying, and the clock helped take off the self-righter. So when they got hit again and went flying and ended up upside down, unfortunately, that was the match in all of 43 seconds. Endgame is no joke. They definitely had something to prove, and they were like here to remind people why they are not to be messed with.
I think the only thing I was surprised about is I really like I know that obviously John wanted to make sure the Gigabyte shell didn't come off again, but I really thought that it was going to come off again. Like the way Endgame was hitting, I'm like, it's gonna be another Hypershock match.
Yeah, I mean, and something did come flying out of the bottom anyway in that one camera shot that they showed later in the show. It was like, oh, I never would have wanted to be that cameraman. I would have been terrified for my life. Like there was so much power in the hits that Endgame was delivering. Yeah, no. Yes. I wouldn't mess with them.
No. So I mean, they obviously will be a force to be reckoned with in the tournament. Like we know this going into it, but you just don't know because there's certain robots that seem to have their number, and if they face one of those robots, then stuff can happen.
Yes.
So one of the matches that I'm sure you were very excited about, Shreddit Bro versus Overhaul. So obviously Overhaul kind of bullied them a little bit in the beginning. Overhaul was able to grab right around the weapon, pick them up, carry them around, slam them a bit. And, at first I was like, oh, this is going to kind of go the way that some of the other matches have gone. But that weapon came to life finally, and was able to deliver some really solid hits on Overhaul, and I could not be happier. I have to add, I mean, I mentioned it on Facebook in a post somewhere, but the first thought that came to my head was, oh, Luke's not there, and is he just so awesome and distracting that like they couldn't focus on the robot those previous matches, and with him gone now, like it's fine, they can focus because Luke's not there.
It's very possible. Luke, what are you doing? I don't know. Yeah, I sat very nervous for the first 2 minutes of this match. It was not fun to watch Shreddit Bro get dragged all across the arena. But Charles had something to prove. He had to remind people that, his claw works and that it's very effective. And he was able to grab right around that drum and really show that he can provide the control. But thank the Lord, Evan Arias, that drum is finally spinning and finally delivering the power and the hits that it has meant to the entire season. I am so proud of the entire team for dialing it in, dragging it out, figuring it out, getting everything functioning, and delivering the power that Shreddit Bro deserves to deliver. My heart could not have been more happy at the end of this match. Like, I probably sat and cried a little bit because I'm a crier and that's just me. I get emotional over things, but I'm so proud of them. I know how hard every single one of them work, and it's just awesome.
Yes, I was very happy because they're like, just like you said, everybody on that team, they're just awesome people. They really deserve to have that win. And I think that they have it figured out, you know. I mean, like it's kind of a little bit late to have it figured out, but you never know. I mean, they're 2-2, so
Right.
like anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Yes, absolutely. So we got another rotator match versus Fusion. What I thought was one of the most interesting things about that match is that Rotator started the match upside down intentionally, and Fusion ended up upside down unintentionally. And you know, like Fusion unfortunately looked more like the Fusion that we are familiar with in the past. There was some fire at some point, but you know, happy for Victor, obviously. Like he had a really good match there. And then we follow the match with Reese's Comedy Hour, where he proceeded to say that a homeless man gave him money. And you know, I just have to say, I mean, I'm pretty sure that Reese is going to stay in robotics, but if he needs an alternative career path, he might be able to do comedy. I think that might also work out for him.
I absolutely love Reese so much. Like, I really want to meet him in person.
I want him to be on the show. Like I've said this before, I need to have him on.
His personality just absolutely delivers. And nobody, I mean, he says it himself. Fusion doesn't like to be upside down. So it's like a sad Eeyore when it's upside down. Like, but yes, congratulations, Victor. You got your robot dialed in. It looked phenomenal. It was delivering power. It looked like the vert on Fusion was totally bent after. So there was definitely some power being delivered in Rotator's weapon. So it was really, really cool to see. But yeah, I love Reese. I love Fusion. I think you hate to see it. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. And again, things that like I just like, you know, from talking and stuff like that kind of predicted that Fusion started out the season really great, and I got this feeling like it wasn't gonna last. Honestly, I think that given the really solid performance versus Witch Doctor and just some of the stuff that he did do earlier in the season, I think Fusion probably sneaks into the tournament. But you know, we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, he definitely had some hard opponents, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So the next one, I had very extreme mixed feelings because on one hand, so immensely happy for one team, and then so like feeling terrible for another team. You know, I wasn't sure what was going to happen because we've seen Ribot this season, and granted they've had a very tough schedule, but like not looking like the Ribot that we're used to seeing. Really not much life there at all, whereas I think Scorpios has looked pretty good this season. And so I was like, I don't know. I think that, you know, the frog might take some hits, and Ribot just freaking dominated like ridiculous. And I mean, obviously their team looked so happy after the match, and Zach and Diana looked so freaking deflated, and my heart just broke because I knew that match meant a lot to them. And I know that they wanted to have a really strong season. I mean, again, like, you know, they're going to get into the round of 32 and all of that good stuff, but I mean, it still was a difficult loss for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, David said it. They had nothing to lose in that match. They were going balls to the wall no matter what. It didn't matter. They had to prove it, and they had to get a win, and that is exactly what they did. They did everything that they needed to do. to show that Ribbot can still come to play and can still be a very, very nasty, mean robot. And he literally left it all on the table. But yes, unfortunately, like obviously, like I have huge love for Zach and Diana and that whole team and everything that they create. And they were like, they've been having such a good season. So yeah, matches like this are hard for me to watch because you're like, who do I root for? What do I do? Oh my gosh, wait, hold on. But like, and then you just like sit there in like turmoil. Like, I don't know how to feel. But it was so cool to see Ribbot get a win and be so excited and realize they're like, all right, maybe this isn't so bad. Like, we've had a stronger showing, but yeah, no, it's just.
Yes.
It's been a rough season.
I know. But I mean, I think that just goes to show you that there is a large amount of motivation for a team like that to make sure that they don't go winless. Because I'm sure that they realize it's going to be a stretch to get into the tournament. They still can, but it's going to be a stretch. So really the main thing was not going winless. And they really did everything that they could to make sure that didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Ugh.
Yes. So Zach and Diane, I mean, I'm sure that this was not the order that they happened in during filming, but back to back matches, although, yeah, like, no, that in that Dragon King match, that wasn't Zach and Diana, that was Wing-a-Ding and Numbskull, the two completely different beings than Zach and Diana. But, they came out going against Terratops, which is a robot that I love so much. I loved the robot before I even saw it do anything, because I think that, a dinosaur themed robot is great. And then not only having like a dinosaur themed robot, but going up against a dragon themed robot. And I could not be more excited. I was like, yes, this is like robot Pokemon. This is everything right now. And so, yeah, so I was very excited by it. And, I think before anything even started, I'm sitting there like, Terratops is gotta snipe those treads. It's gotta do it. They're right there.
Get them.
and it did do that. Now I will say, like, compared to the Slammo match, I don't think that Terratops looked a little bit more like that Ben couldn't quite get it going in some spots. It wasn't quite as like just out and out dominant. But obviously like still looked great. Terratops also did some amazing things at Robo Games. So I mean, like, if Greg does not put this robot in the main thing in season 8, I don't know. I think that Ben has proven that Terratops deserves to be there, and I really want to see what it can do in like the main competition setting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, like, you love watching other robots get suplexed. Like, that's a lot of power to be able to pick up 250 pounds and throw it over your head. Like, that's literally 2.5 of me. So, like, that's pretty impressive. And to be able to just realize that even though they didn't have a weapon, they still were be able to get control, and they moved how they needed to move, and they got in there and they delivered those suplexes and they showed their control. Terratops is absolutely incredible, and Ben and his sister are just phenomenal, and I love everything that they're doing. I love that they have a whole theme and they're not messing around. Like, they really are proving that they want a spot and that they deserve a spot, and I absolutely agree that they should be on season 8 in the main event, because like, they're just fantastic, and the robot is fantastic, and it deserves to fight all of the other robots.
Yes, for sure. And the fans really got into it. Like the fans were really behind Terratops there. So I think, that shows something there as well. And like you mentioned, the suplexes, it's not only difficult to suplex a robot, but like Dragon King is a really awkward, like shaped robot. So to be able to
grabbed it by the face and was like, bye.
Yes, exactly. So like that's a little bit more difficult than just any like normal boxy robot that you could suplex. So yeah, it was very impressive. I was really excited to see all of that happening. And yes, Terror Tops needs to be in for the next season. Like, I don't even care. They just need to be. And so that led into the main event of the week, which was Copperhead versus RIPperoni, and just everything, like the walkout, the match, everything, even though the match didn't last that long, but like the Copperhead team comes out and, you know, has this like cloth draped over, and I'm just like, something's happening. And then they open it up and Luke pops out of a pizza box, and I'm just like, okay. And then, you know, RIPperoni comes out with their whole pizza thing, and you know, I always have to look at the ingredients because I have to look what they say. And the customer was Snack. So I'm like, yes, obviously that's what you're going to put there. And yeah, I mean, I didn't really know how this match was going to go. I've seen a lot of those internet people talking about that endgame match like it was a fluke, and I'm like, it is not. I promise you, it is not a fluke. But when you look at it, like Copperhead has been straight up wasting people the entire season, and you know, so like you look and you're like, okay, these are both clearly very destructive robots, and I think it's a matter of whoever gets who in the wrong position is probably going to win this one. And Luke made kind of a driving error, and then RIPperoni just gets him in the back, and I mean that's really about all that it took. So yeah, like just dominance by RIPperoni. This robot is a freaking force to be reckoned with.
Yes, absolutely. This one, obviously, I love RIPperoni. I love to see this, but I love Copperhead so much. So this one hurt the heart a little bit at the end of the day. I definitely sat on my couch with like tears in my eyes during the during the interviews, because I have so much respect for all of them, for Anna, for Fred, for Chad, for Luke, Lindsay, Kyle, everyone else that I cannot name right now, but they are just absolutely incredible. Fred, your driving is absolutely methodical, and everything that you're doing is absolutely awesome. Like, you really, like, you're a crazy chef and you have this out of life personality, and it's so fantastic. But when you're driving and you dial it in and you really pay attention to what's going on, like, there's nothing better, and that machine is delivering so much power, so many hits, and fortunately and unfortunately they got behind Copperhead and they delivered a kill shot. And it really stinks to see that Copperhead is not going to finish the season 4-0, because I 100% thought in my heart that they were, but it was just so much power in such a short amount of time. Both machines are absolutely incredible, and obviously we're going to see both in the tournament, so it will really, really be interesting to see, like, if we get this as a rematch or something in the future, to see what happens, because they're both so powerful that I think that if Luke was able to go weapon to weapon, it might have ended a little bit differently.
Yeah, it very well could have. They're both powerful, and yeah, I also was like, I love both of these teams, but you know, there's something about this story behind RIPperoni that, you know, like, it's awesome to see how they're doing, to come in with this robot. And as you have said, you are a big fan of Omega Team. It's not a cult. We're not being influenced in any way to like this team.
No, not at all. I know. I literally sat and then I was like, RIPperoni shirt, Star Child shirt, Omega shirt. I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, okay. But yeah, so much love for Omega and everything that they've produced this season. Both robots are absolutely incredible in their design, and it's just so much like crazy thinking and so cool and innovation to see different ideas really come to life and really prove their worth, and like show people why robotics is so freaking cool.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, like we're a ways off from even knowing any of this, but I would say I feel pretty confident that given the performances, I'm pretty sure RIPperoni has Rookie of the Year buttoned up at this point. They're pretty impressive. Yeah, the only thing that I want to see out of that team is that next year I would like them to bring a mini bot and name it Calzone. That would make my heart so very happy. So
I think they should work on that.
I think so. It would just be like this calzone looking thing with an undercutter or something.
I love it.
Yeah. So, but we'll see what happens. We still have a couple of weeks to go, but I mean, like a lot of these teams have finished up their fourth fight. We're kind of starting to see that field shaping up. There's a lot undecided. I mean, personally for me, with what we have left to go, I feel pretty strongly with that Witch Doctor Minotaur match, which is going to be in the very last fight night. I think whoever wins that is probably going to be the number 1 seed. So I mean,
agree with that.
Yeah. I think that that's pretty safe to say, even though, you have other undefeated teams or potentially undefeated teams, but I think just based on strength of schedule and just the pedigree of those robots, that's what you've got to look at. And obviously there's still a lot more other stuff to come. Will Black Dragon continue its streak of not being knocked out? I hope so. Who else, how are things going to shake out with everybody else's records? Will Huge go undefeated and beat Starchild? That's going to be another one. And I know you're going to be like,
rip my heart out and throw it on the floor.
There's so much to be decided, but I think, no matter what happens the next 2 weeks, I think it is going to be just an insane tournament with a crazy level of talent. And I think anything can happen. So, we'll have one more recap show recapping these fight nights, and then we're going to get
into you in Norwalk.
I know. I will be there. And I'm going to do my best to both fight a robot and also try and do my journalistic bit as well. So I'm going to be a very busy person that weekend. So we'll see. I'm very excited about it. So for anybody who is going to be at Norwalk that weekend, I'm excited to see and meet everyone and get to partake in this amazing event that I think is sure to be really great. And hopefully I don't get beat in my first fight or have to. I do not want to fight Paws. Tom, I cannot hurt Paws. So I hope that doesn't happen, because I don't want to do that.
No one ever wants to hurt the Paws, okay?
Except JMO, he doesn't care. But yeah, so keep watching. Lots more to come. We're getting into the nitty gritty and some real exciting stuff here. So yeah, and the next recap show, we'll be able to talk about the top 32.
Yes,
so
I can't wait. Oh, it's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yes. So yes, please keep watching, liking, subscribing, all of the good things. We have some really good episodes coming up. I will have an interview with Lucky on Monday. And that's going to be a good one. So please make sure that you tune in and check it out. And we'll see you next time on the show.
Yeah.